The tiger cub weighed less than 2 pounds. He had been born 3 days earlier at a wildlife rescue facility in southern India, the only surviving cub from a litter of 3. His mother, a Bengal tigress who had been brought in injured from a tea plantation conflict, died of organ failure within 48 hours of giving birth. The cub was alive, but only technically. He was hypothermic, refusing the bottle, too weak to cry with any real force, and the facility's small staff was running out of options. What happened next was not planned. It was not a carefully managed interspecies introduction. A staff member named Thomas, a 38-year-old wildlife technician who had worked at the facility for 11 years, made a decision that was equal parts desperation and instinct. He placed the tiger cub inside the nesting box of a domestic cat named Priya, a 4-year-old orange tabby who had given birth to a litter of 5 kittens 6 days earlier. He stepped back. He watched. And Priya did something that stopped the room. She sniffed the cub once. She looked up at Thomas briefly. Then she pulled the cub against her body with one paw and began to groom him. Within 20 minutes, the cub was nursing. There is a version of this story that ends there and asks nothing more of us. A heartwarming clip, a moment of grace, something to share and move on from. But the real story is more complicated and far more interesting, because what Priya did was not simple kindness. It was the expression of a biological system so ancient and so finely calibrated that it does not distinguish between species. And understanding how that system works changes the way you see every maternal bond you have ever witnessed. Let's start with what Priya's brain was doing in the moment she accepted that cub. When a mammal gives birth, her body is flooded with a hormonal cascade dominated by oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone, and prolactin, which drives milk production and nurturing behavior. This hormonal state does not last forever. It has a window, typically measured in days, during which the maternal brain is in its most receptive and plastic state. During this window, a mammal mother's brain is primed to attach to any infant that presents the right sensory signals: warmth, a specific kind of smell, the feel of small, helpless movement against the body, and the rooting behavior that signals hunger. The tiger cub presented all of those signals. He was warm, he was small, he rooted when placed against Priya's belly, and critically, he smelled of milk and newborn animal, a scent profile that Priya's brain, 6 days postpartum and saturated with oxytocin, processed not as tiger, but simply as young. This is what scientists call the sensitive period of maternal bonding, and it is one of the most powerful states the mammalian brain can enter. During this window, the brain's normal filtering mechanisms, the ones that distinguish familiar from foreign, species from species, kin from non-kin, are significantly suppressed. What remains is a single overriding directive: respond to the infant, keep it warm, feed it, clean it. Priya did not decide to adopt the tiger cub in any way that resembles a human decision. She responded to him because her biology gave her no strong reason not to, and every strong reason to. This is not unique to cats. It is one of the most consistent phenomena across the mammalian world, and it has been documented in species combinations that seem almost impossible on paper. Dogs have nursed piglets. Wolves have been documented accepting lambs introduced during the bonding window. Chimpanzees in rescue settings have been observed providing full maternal care to infant monkeys of entirely different genera. In 2012, a Labrador retriever in Brazil spontaneously adopted a litter of capybara pups whose mother had been killed, nursing and protecting them for weeks until they were old enough to be independent. In each of these cases, the mechanism is the same: the sensitive period window, the right sensory cues, and a maternal brain doing exactly what it was shaped by evolution to do. The evolutionary reason this window exists is straightforward and elegant. In the wild, infant mammals die at high rates. Mothers die too, to predation, to injury, to illness. The sensitive period of bonding exists in part because flexibility in attachment increases survival. A mammal whose maternal instincts could be triggered by a range of infants, not just her own genetic offspring, was more likely to contribute to the survival of the group. In social species especially, this flexibility was an advantage. The gene pool rewarded mothers who could extend care, and so the sensitive period was preserved, refined, and passed down across millions of mammalian evolution. Priya was not being unusual. She was being exactly what her species was built to be. The misunderstanding worth correcting here is the idea that this story is extraordinary. People call it a miracle, they call it inexplicable. They reach for mystical language because the image, a house cat nursing a tiger, feels like it should not be real. But it is precisely real, and it is real for reasons we can name and trace and follow backward through evolutionary time. What is truly extraordinary is not that Priya did it. It is that we built a world in which a wildlife technician named Thomas had the presence of mind to try it, and a facility small enough that a 4-year-old orange tabby had a nesting box close enough to a dying tiger cub to make it possible. The tiger cub, named Arjun by the facility staff, survived. He grew. Within 2 weeks, he was the largest animal in Priya's nesting box by a significant margin, and her 5 kittens climbed over him like a piece of furniture he had not agreed to become. By 6 weeks, the facility began the careful process of transitioning Arjun to species-appropriate care with older tigers in a larger enclosure, a process that had to be managed slowly and precisely because Arjun had imprinted not on tigers but on cats. Priya's 5 kittens were all adopted by the facility's staff and volunteers. Priya herself was retired from the facility's breeding program and lives permanently at the rescue center, where Thomas still works. He says she still greets him the same way she always has: one slow blink, a turn, and a return to whatever she was doing before he arrived. Arjun is 12 years old now. He is large, healthy, and by all accounts, profoundly unbothered by the presence of small domestic cats, which the facility's behaviorists attribute, quietly, carefully, and with appropriate scientific caution, to the first 6 weeks of his life. If this story made the world feel a slightly more connected than it did 10 minutes ago, hit the like button and subscribe. We tell the stories that science and nature built together, and there are more coming that you will not want to miss.